You are listening to the Mike Riley Now podcast on the Young Angels of America Network. Follow us by visiting MikeRileyNow.com. All right, and welcome one and all to the Mike Riley Now podcast on the Young Angels of America Network. I am your host, Mike Riley. Welcome to the show. I am, of course, joined by my lovely, lovely co-host, Cam Robson, my girl, Charlie Sandy, Brooke Doherty, who is our executive producer, and we also have a very special guest on the show tonight, Mr. Steve Cron. We'll be talking, Mr. Steve Cron. I said your name wrong. I apologize. You will find I do that on this show a lot. It is Thursday, November the 10th, 2016, and we are 3 days out from the 2016 presidential election. And we will be talking about what happened and what the results were and all the aftermath of everything. I know a lot of people are anxious to hear what's going on. So we're definitely going to get into that. I definitely want to shout out my new subscribers real quick. Please remember to remember to follow us on the Facebook, Twitters, and everything like that by going to MikeRileyNow.com. I want to jump into this first section real quick. We have a very special guest on the show tonight, Mr. Steve Cron. Steve Cron is a Santa Monica-based criminal defense lawyer and professor of trial practice at Pepperdine Law School. Welcome to the show, Steve. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, Mike.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I find it really interesting that you're so basically you're a criminal defense attorney in so many words. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, awesome. And make you talk right into your mic here. Sorry about that. Yeah. Right. Now, I kind of want to. It's kind of interesting that you're here in a sense because. One of the big topics we're going to kind of touch on in the show today is what is the world or what's our country going to kind of be like under a Trump presidency based upon a lot of the things he kind of campaigned on. And one of the big things he campaigned on was his stance on the justice system, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of the president of the Philippines. His name is Rodrigo Duterte. Have you ever heard of him?
I sure have.
Yeah. Rodrigo Duterte he calls himself the Trump of the Philippines for all of you who aren't really familiar with him. I mean, this man is probably as ruthless as it gets when it comes to what he would call criminal justice. He claims that he doesn't give a damn about human rights. He has killed somewhat up to 3,000 people, execution style. Most of them drug users, people who have problems with drugs. He's very ruthless on crime and is locking people up. And he called Barack Obama, I think he said something to the extent of he's a shitbag or something like that. Hold on, let me see if I can find the direct quote here. The president of the Philippines said Barack Obama. Oh, he said to go to hell. He told Barack Obama to go to hell. So yeah, but he loves Trump. And he is praising the fact that Trump is now president. And a lot of it has to do with his style on criminal justice reform. Now, according to Vox.com, Donald Trump he's running on this 1980s kind of style of tough on crime, right? So he's advocating mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenders. He's talking about stop and frisk under his new policy. Steve, what do you think is going to be the outcome of the criminal justice system based on a Trump presidency if he's actually talking about promising doing what he actually campaigned on?
Well, personally, I find it horrifying. He's talked about having Rudy Giuliani as his attorney general, and throughout the campaign, he has, in my mind, shown himself to be as much of a crackpot as our president-elect. I have trouble saying those words, but and so there's the people that they appealed to in this election were people that wanted law and order. They want to blame immigrants, minorities for all of their problems. And an easy solution is to say, just lock them up. And that's what we've been doing for, 30, 40 years. And with the Obama administration, President Obama has come to the realization that just locking up people for minor crimes is not a way to solve problems. It's just a way to incarcerate a lot of poor and minority people. And I fear that under Trump, things are going to go back to that status. And police are going to have free reign, and they're going to be taking people away and deporting Mexicans, Muslims, all kinds of stuff. I hope I'm wrong, but it doesn't look promising to me.
Right. Yeah, that is a little daunting to hear that. Recently, the federal government said that it wanted to get out of the business of of privatization of prison from a federal level.
Right.
I don't know if that's something that Trump wants to continue to embark on under his administration, but be that as it may, that was going to be a big part of the criminal justice reform system, was to decrease our prison population based upon, taking down the privatization of prisons, because obviously private prisons, they need bodies in order to make a profit.
Right. And, the Obama administration is starting to adopt to the position that we don't need to put people away in order to make the community safe, that if there's ways of supervising them in the community, allowing them to stay with their families, support their families, yet be monitored, that's far superior to locking people up for 10, 20 years over drug charges. And this whole idea of privatization is saying that we'll give the prison inmates over to private companies and pay them for the inmates. So, of course, there's going to be an incentive to keep them there. There's going to be less early release. It's going to be a profit-based system where private companies and corporations are going to be making money by keeping people in prison for longer and longer periods of time. It may sound like a good capitalistic scheme, and Mr. Trump is certainly in favor of capitalism, but it doesn't seem like a very just way to treat our citizens.
Absolutely. Another thing that was big in the campaign for Donald Trump was him and Rudy Giuliani, were implementing this idea of bringing back stop and frisk. Now, I don't know how they're going to implement that on a federal level, but, stop and frisk was found unconstitutional in New York because it targeted minorities. Now, I know you practice law out here in California, but do you think that and I'm trying to find the silver lining here, and I'm trying to see if there's anything.
You got to look really hard.
Right.
You got to keep looking really, really hard to find a silver lining here. If you're looking, if you're somebody who wants to lock people up, man, you hit the payday. But if you're looking for justice and treating people as individuals and looking for fairness in the system, it's really hard to find a silver lining here.
What's your experience with the criminal justice system? I mean, being a criminal defense attorney, I mean, what kind of changes would you like to see implemented? And do you think these changes are something? I mean, in other words, if particular changes that you wanted implemented, did you see those coming into fruition more under a Clinton presidency, or do you see them ever coming to fruition under a Trump presidency?
Well, Clinton takes us back. You're talking about Hillary, not Bill Clinton.
I'm talking about Hillary. Yes,
okay,
I understand the crime bill and
under Bill Clinton,
right.
And I think he said he regrets it, that he increased the penalties for drugs and started this war on crime.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, the only saving grace I see with Trump is that over his career, he's changed his opinions on things. He goes with the wind.
Yeah, he's a former Democrat.
Yeah, this is a guy who at one point was in favor of a woman's right to choose. Now he's staunchly opposed to it. He has changed his views depending on the wind. And this time it was a popular sentiment or at least he perceived the popular sentiment was to be conservative. He certainly was not going to get the Democratic nomination. He went after the Republican nomination when this kind of right-wing, bigoted, us against them, white against black, white against everybody else kind of notion. And the idea of stop and frisk is basically a way for police to stop anybody that they think might be suspicious. And those are unfortunately code words for racial minorities. to stop them and frisk them and give them a lot of grief over what are you doing here and what's that in your pocket and that kind of stuff. And New York, they outlawed it. Now, most federal law enforcement agencies don't do stop and frisk kind of things because you're talking about the FBI, the DEA, Secret Service and stuff like that. They do investigations of cases. They go on for a while. They do wiretaps and search warrants. They don't do street crimes. They don't, follow people around on the street and say, hey, what do you got in your pocket? They're looking for the drug dealers, not the drug users.
Right.
So
right.
I don't know that his idea of stop and frisk is going to change a whole lot, but here's how it will matter with the Supreme Court.
Yes. Now, that's a huge disappointment.
That's a scary
That's
part.
A scary part of it, yeah.
Because he's said he's going to appoint the most conservative justices in the world, and right now it's split at 4-4 because the Republicans stalled on the replacement for Scalia for almost a year. Yeah. And so he's going to appoint people that are going to say, oh, yeah, you can stop and frisk, and if the United States Supreme Court says it's okay to stop and frisk, then cities like New York and Los Angeles and the states all over the country are going to be able to say, wow, we didn't violate their
Fourth Amendment rights.
So that's okay.
But isn't that a violation of my Fourth Amendment? If I'm walking down the street and I get stopped and frisked because I'm being profiled.
Yes, I agree. It's a total violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. But it's not going to be a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights if the United States Supreme Court says that's not a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights, that it is okay to stop and frisk as long as you have some kind of a suspicion, and they're going to start expanding what that suspicion can be. And they're not going to come right out and say, well, if you're black, you can stop and frisk them. But they're going to have all kinds of code words about in a high crime area there have been people with that description who have committed crimes in that area lately. So we thought he might be one of the bank robbers, might be one of the drug dealers or whatever. So they're going to start, the way it'll work is people get convicted. They'll challenge the Fourth Amendment proceedings, and then the United States Supreme Court will say, "Oh no, that's okay. That he had a strong suspicion. That was reasonable. That doesn't violate the Fourth Amendment." And cops around the country they'll learn, and they'll start saying, "Oh, hey, we can get away with this, and now we can get away with this," and they'll keep pushing it. And if we get an extremely conservative Supreme Court, they'll just open the doors for cops to violate Fourth Amendment rights.
Yeah, it's a little wow.
And it's not, I hate to be a Debbie Downer here. But
no, I think everybody's kind of in that mood right now, so please don't feel alone.
Yeah, but I don't. But it's not just Fourth Amendment. It's going to apply to everything. It's going to apply to Miranda rights and people being interrogated and, questioned without attorneys. It's going to apply to your right to have a jury trial, and will they start limiting it, saying you can only have a jury trial for felonies, and can you only, there's going to be all kinds of those constitutional rights because it's not even necessarily Trump, it's the people that he is going to be appointing to positions like that, and they're looking at this, they're saying on the day one they're going to start doing these things, and they're going to not let up.
Yeah.
Now, how's that for a fun way to spend it?
Other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
Things are terrific. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's a little something. I don't want to say it's a harbinger of things to come. It does kind of reflect on the decision that was made by the American people. Is this what kind of America we want to live in? Where we don't do anything about mass incarceration, where there isn't any type of criminal justice reform, where we want to be, what does it mean to be tougher on crime in a Trump world? Is it like Reagan tough on crime? Is it like George H.W. Bush tough on crime, where we're starting this new era of mass incarceration based off of mostly what I would consider things to be nonviolent? I mean, do you find that to be, is it mostly drugs? Because, Trump's big on the heroin and opioid epidemic.
Well, look, I'm not one that's in favor of heroin or cocaine or anything like that. But, you know, what we've done for the last 30 years or so is we've taken people who, you know, were...
Sorry about this. See, we're coming up next to a break right here. Could you stay for a second?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. We'll be right back, everybody. It's the Mike Riley Now podcast, Young Angels of America Network. You are listening to the Mike Riley Now podcast on the Young Angels of America Network. Follow us by visiting MikeRileyNow.com. All right.